Hey guys, today we're going in for a very serious video. So if you're not ready for that, I would advise you to click off. Yeah. But welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Shanae Williams, back at it again for another video on Shanae Space.
Be strong.
Okay, so today we're gonna be attacking sexual assault. So now, really, if you're not ready for that conversation, really click off, bro. Like, actually click off. Like, I actually do not want to be responsible for ruining your day, or triggering you in any way. I'm gonna try to keep it like light enough that it's not really triggering, because yeah, but also I'm still gonna be honest, so I would definitely advise you to at least check in on yourself throughout the video if you're gonna watch the video, if you're curious. Okay, so today is May 31st. I am on a balcony right now. I'm in my new place of residence at least for a month and a half. And I only really wanted to include the date just so we could see how long it took for me to actually post this. Yeah. Let's get into it. I've been feeling very called to share my story kind of around sexual assault. I've been in at least, minimum, obviously as a woman, I've been in at least 5 sexual assault encounters, 2 of which I was a victim, 3 of which I was not the victim. And obviously in those 3 situations, which is what we're going to talk about today, I didn't know I was doing anything wrong, which makes this easier to talk about, but also not really. So yeah. The 2 other situations I think are just like, I guess I'm not really gonna talk about them because that is triggering for me. But the other 2 situations, they were just like, yeah, not worth talking about today. Like, we're not getting into that. Just because there's nothing really, at least in my opinion, I feel like, when it came to those situations, they taught me stuff, but in a way that like trauma teaches you stuff, like it's just like now you're like hyper aware, you're like hyper vigilant, you're like always like looking over your shoulder just in case something happens, or something reminds you of something else, and now you're like in another place or in another plane, or like something happened, you get triggered and now suddenly you're back in that situation. So we don't have to talk about that. But we are going to talk about the fact that I have learned from the 3 encounters that I was in that I was a perpetrator. I think that's the word. I'm not really sure. I can look it up. Let me look it up. Hold on. You think watching enough? Oh, yep, perpetrator. Period. That I was the perpetrator of such horrible acts. Truthfully, these are not at the extremes of like sexual assault and stuff like that, but nonetheless they still count. And so I'm gonna give a brief overview of each situation, and I'm gonna talk about how I learned from each situation as well. But I think first I would like to disclose why I'm even bringing these things up. One, I felt really called to talk about this stuff. Literally because, well, I don't know, maybe this needs a backstory. Okay, so when I was in college, basically I had this friend. I still have this friend. We're still friends. And he was in a sexual assault encounter, and he was a perpetrator. And it also was not to the extreme of extremes, but nonetheless, it still counts, right? And so he had, am I gonna explain this whole story? I don't know how relevant the whole story is, but nonetheless, he was in this situation, and we all knew he did the wrong thing, right? Like, when it got back to us, when we all found out, we were like, what the fuck? But out of the friend group that we had with him in it, like, I was the only person to continue to talk to him. And my whole goal in talking to him, really, other than like continue to be his friend, but it was just like to kind of help him like recognize why that was like not a great thing to do, why it was like not right, and why we can't continue like on this path of hurting other people. And I know, yeah, I don't even know how much I can say about that, but yeah, I think that was that. And obviously alcohol was involved in that situation, and he was not somebody who was used to like having free reign. Like, you know, when people go to college, like a lot of the times it's the first time they experience freedom, and they start doing extra crazy wild shit. So he was one of those, and so I wanted to continue. I just wanted to be able to be somebody like he could come to, and also somebody that like could help him move past this, like in a way that was healthy, and so that he didn't continue to make the same crazy ass mistakes or crazy ass actions, or like, you know, like do some crazy ass shit. And I wanted to make sure he wasn't drinking OD. Like, that shit was crazy. So yeah, he's come out of it, he's better now, but like he's like, you know, he's like a person, he's still a person. He's just, and that was our freshman year. So senior year has passed, y'all know I graduated last year, and now it's like, now there's new people who graduated. But yeah, either way, like the whole point of that story is the fact that one of the people from the friend group had told me, like, at the end of our senior year, that they didn't even, I don't know, they kind of expressed to me, them and someone else kind of expressed to me that it was a good thing that I chose to stay in contact and continue to be like friends with this person and continue to like watch him grow and change, because now, because they chose, like, after finding out what he did, to like kind of just cut him off and never talk to him again, like that was the end of it. Like, they didn't know anything about him now. They didn't know who he was. They didn't know like what he could have become. Like, they didn't know anything about him. But aside from that, like, the thing that this person said that really stuck with me was the fact that I gave him a chance to like grow, a chance to like change, a chance to just, you know, be something else. And that's what stuck with me, and that's kind of what's inspiring me and pushing me to make this video, because I feel like it's not so much about giving him a chance, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, one is giving myself a chance. Obviously, I've already learned from my mistakes. That's the only way I'm able to make this video. I've learned from my mistakes, I've learned from my actions, and I am, like, some days I'm more forgiving of myself, other days not so much. But today I'm feeling, I think, brave enough to make this video, which I'm proud of, because it's been on my heart for a while. But yeah, anyway, giving him a whole chance was just the notion of being able to give somebody a chance really stuck with me. It really stuck with me, and I was like, damn, like, that's true. Like, and he is a different person, and he has learned from his mistakes, like, and he has learned from his actions. And it's like, damn, like, when I think about the encounters that I've been in, where I've hurt people, where I was told way later that I hurt them, like, it's just like, all the emotions I went through of feeling like sick to my fucking stomach knowing that I hurt someone else in that way, and in a way that's like, I feel like when it comes to sexual assault, like I feel like that's like one of the worst, like to feel like a prisoner in your own body type shit, like to feel like what you say or like you can't even, like it, if you've been through it, you understand. But it's just like, it's a horrible thing. Like, it's horrible. It feels disgusting, for real. Like, it feels very trapping. And so, yeah, to be somebody who has done that to other people, like, it's just like, damn, like, the fuck does that make me? Like, like, how do I get to wake up and, like, live and keep going? Like, how do I get to keep doing that? But then it also is like, okay, because I want to keep living in this body and I want to keep being this person, like, and I have to live with everything that I've done. It's like, I have to, one, learn from what I've done, and also I have to be able to forgive myself for what I've done. Like, it's hard to, like, keep going if you can't forgive yourself, if you're always carrying that shame and that guilt with you, if you're always carrying, like, the shit that you did with you, like, if you're always bashing it over your own head when everyone else has moved on, like, that shit is crazy. And so kind of this video is more so about trying to remind people who has been in similar shoes as me, because it's a lot of people, we don't like to talk about this stuff, and it's really hard for us to talk about this stuff for several reasons. But it's also taboo for us to talk about this stuff. It's hard for us to talk about forgiving ourselves for being fucking feeling like monsters. Like, it's like, I know so many people have been in situations where there was some sort of miscommunication, or there was some sort of like, and this is really exactly, like, I started this off with talking about not the extremes. We're not talking about the extremes today at all. But like in the situation where we're dabbling in very serious gray area, which is where most of our lives are, it's like, I know this has happened to so many people. I know so many people have lived in, like, have sat in these same shoes, have lived in these same shoes, are in these same shoes right now, watching this video in these same shoes right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like I just want to be transparent in order to give not just myself but other people a chance, like a chance to forgive themselves, or a chance to realize that they also deserve forgiveness, or that there's a way to navigate living in your body with kind of, and accepting who you are and like what you've done, and continuing to be able to move forward on a better path. Like, there is a way to get through that. Like, there is a way. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I am saying, for me personally, the forgiveness doesn't start at talking to you guys. The forgiveness doesn't start there. The forgiveness starts with me. I just felt led to talk to you guys about it. And I think if we had more transparent, true, honest conversations around everything beyond sex and all that stuff, but like truly around sex, and like had better sexual education, and like just honesty around like consent, just honesty around a lot of stuff, we would not be in these situations. But obviously I'm just a little droplet of water in a big ocean, so we're gonna make this droplet count. Now to the 3 encounters. So my first encounter was when I was in high school. I was in high school, and like I started, like, you know, my sexual activity in middle school. I didn't do too much in middle school, but that was my first sexual encounter. We can talk about that later because it does come into play. But I would say my first like sexual assault encounter where I was a perpetrator was definitely in high school. We were at, of course, an unsupervised fucking high school little fucking party at one of these kids' homes. Me and my ex-girlfriend was there. We were exes at the time. So me and my ex-girlfriend was there, and she, I was over her at this point. You know, we were just cool. We were just macking. Like, we were cool. And this is important. We were cool, we were macking. Everybody else there is older than us. For sure, definitely older than us. At least 1 to 2 years. Like, everybody else probably has, whatever. Me personally, when I was younger, I was not a drinker. I was not like that. And so this was the first party that I was really like, okay, like, pour me up, like, pour me up. I was feeling myself a little bit. I was feeling myself a lot of it. And so, yeah, those are the circumstances. We was all drinking a lot. My ex was definitely drinking on an empty stomach. That did not work out well for her. But nonetheless, at a certain point of the night, when things are really like, niggas is really having to focus just to be able to see the niggas in front of us, like really having to focus to be able to be in this conversation and be able to walk outside, because that's what everything we was doing, everything. That's when the night was like more. That's when all this other stuff started happening. So basically, my ex-girlfriend, who had drank on an empty ass stomach, basically was needing to be taken care of, and obviously me and this other girl who was also, we were all lost. We were all lost, I'm not gonna lie. But I was like able to focus enough to keep it together enough to be like, okay, I'm gonna take care of you. Like, I'm gonna take care of you. But at this point of the night, I told y'all earlier, I was not, bro, I was trying to get with this other boy. Like, I was trying to get with a boy, my ex-boyfriend. I was trying to get with a boy. Right? Like, that's where I was at my point in time of my life. Like, I wanted to be with this boy. Like, I thought he was cute. He wasn't at the party. But, that's where I'm at. Drunk me was still feeling my ex. Like, sober me, that bitch is a dub. Drunk me, baby this, baby that. So that's where I was. I was drunk enough to be calling her baby. Like, niggas was not lucid. Like, niggas was not where they were supposed to be. And so, but she was still drunker than me. Also important. She was still drunker than me. Either way, at a certain point in the night, I asked for consent to, do a little finger action. I get the consent to do a little finger action. Do a little finger action, stop. The rest of the night goes on. We wake up the next day, everybody's chilling. Everybody's chilling. I take my ex-girlfriend to work. Blah, blah, blah. Me, of course, I'm a poet. I love to write. And I remember the night. I remember the night for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, there's, like, parts that are, like, more blurry than the rest. But I'm like, no, I remember last night. Like, we all remember last night, right? Some people did not remember last night. Some people did not remember last night. My ex-girlfriend was one of those people. She remembers some of last night. She didn't remember all of it. I wrote this poem, and this was back when Snapchat was popping in my life. I wrote this poem and I posted it on Snapchat because that's where I was posting all my stuff. And it was just about kind of the night and like how it was about, I guess, some of my feelings just around the fact that like I basically was able to kind of be intimate with my ex again, and we were still so far away. That was kind of what the poem was about. I don't think I have the poem anymore. I don't even really remember. But I remember that she swiped up on the story and she was like, yo, what is this about? And I was like, what do you mean, what is this about? It's about last night. She was like, I don't remember that. And I was like, oh. Like, I didn't know what to say. I'm like, well, it happened. It was like, is that weird? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, like, I didn't even know what the fuck to do with that. Like, I didn't know what to do with that information. I was like, you said it was cool. And she was like, I don't remember. And I'm just like, don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. But I felt horrible. I felt fucking sick. I felt sick, boy. I felt so sick. And I remember all the poetry I was writing after that. I was like, damn, like, am I a rapist, bro? Like, what the fuck? Like, who am I? Like, what the fuck am I on? Like, bro, I felt sick for like months, weeks, like years type shit. Like, I was not feeling good about that at all. And I still don't, but that shit was sick. I laugh when I'm uncomfortable, but that shit was fucked up. Like, I didn't even know what to do. And I was like, I really just told her, like, it became a whole thing amongst, like, obviously so many people at the party. It was just a whole thing. Nonetheless, aside from it becoming a whole thing, like, so Oh, sorry, my video had cut off. But so basically, after it became a whole situation, I kind of just was like, I kind of told her like, I'm not gonna minimize how you feel. I'm not gonna minimize how you feel. If you feel like I assaulted you, I dead ass did. Like, and I'm sorry. And I'm really sorry. And the worst part is really the fact that, because I already knew she'd been through situations like that prior, like in her life. You know, you find out everything about your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever. So obviously, I was not trying to put her in a situation like that. And for it to feel like and to know that I did, I was like, ooh, like, it fucking sucked. It really fucking sucked. And I knew it sucked more for her. So I was just like, bro, like, I'm not, it's not like I'm trying to fight for my innocence or nothing. Like, no, bro, I hurt you and I'm sorry I fucking hurt you and I'm sorry I put you in a predicament like that. It fucking sucks and I'm sorry you had to think about this shit. I'm sorry you're fucking triggered. Like, you deserve better than that. Yeah. But it was difficult for me. And because of that situation, basically my main thing I learned was that I'm not finna drink. I'm not drinking. I'm done drinking. I don't want any of the problems that this drinking shit is bringing to me. Like, I didn't drink until college after that, for real. And I was early high school. So, yeah, I was like, I'm good. I'm so good off that. That shit's nuts. That shit is nuts. No, thank you. But I definitely will say, yeah, it was definitely difficult for me to fully, like, at first it sounded so bonkers to me. Like, at first, like, truly, like, it sounded so bonkers to me. Just for her to think that I would do some weird shit to her on purpose, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where I was at that time. Like, you be trying to block these shits out, like, but I don't know. I remember it sounded so bonkers to me. I was like, damn, like, she really think, like, no way, like, really, like, bro. But I remember talking to this other girl about it, like, one of my friends in school, and I was like, yo, and I remember bringing up something. I was like, well, when we were in a relationship, she did some shit like this, and like, I never jacked. Like, it was something like we had like a little sexual encounter, just a sexual encounter, and it kind of surprised me. Like, she didn't really ask me if I wanted to get into that, but then we got into it, and I was like, oh, okay, and so I just got into it. I was like, cool, like, fine. And I told my friend about that, and my friend was like, yeah, okay, I hear what you're saying, but that doesn't cancel anything out. Like, that could just be two situations. Like, that could just be two fucked up. Not fucked up, like, the second one, at least, this is where middle school comes in. So, basically, but the whole point, my friend was like, yeah, like, that doesn't cancel out what you did to her and how she feels. I was like, okay, fine. I was like, nah, she's right. And also, it made me wonder about, like, okay, but what about me, though? Like, in that other situation, like, but it was like, also, I didn't see a problem with it at the time. And also, in middle school, how sex, like, really, like, at least encounters that I planned on purpose was introduced to me was, like, kind of through coercion. Like, so a lot of, like, stuff that, and coercion is, we're gonna put the definition up just so everybody's on the same page. Let's just look it up real quick. But let's see. Coercion. Oh. The practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. Damn, maybe coercion isn't the word. Maybe coercion isn't the word. Yeah, maybe we'll have to find another word. never mind on coercion. But the way that sex was introduced to me, or at least the planned sex and stuff like that was introduced to me, was kind of in a way that, like, I don't know, like, I remember my first sexual encounter. It was like, it kind of felt like if I agreed to do something, I had to follow through with it. You know? Like, whether that was pressure on myself or pressure from the other person, it was just like, and I want to call this coercion, but I don't think that's not what it says coercion is. I don't know what the word is for what I'm looking for, but or what I'm trying to describe right now. But it was more like, okay, I said I was gonna do this. I have to do this now. Like, even if I feel differently about it now, like, I really feel like that's coercion. But even if I feel differently about it, like, I said I was gonna do this, I gotta follow through. But on top of that, it was also like, I remember my very first sexual, not very first, but my first sexual encounter in middle school, where it was like on purpose and stuff like that. It was like, I'm sorry about all the sirens. This is New York. But it was like, I remember the boy asking me if I was ready to start, and I was like, no. And he was like, well, and we still started anyway. So it's like, that type of shit, like, was already in me. Like, okay, this is normal. Like, this is normal type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is some of the normal type stuff that just happens. Like, and I feel like a lot of my, like, other dabbling in sex, like, after the situation with my ex-girlfriend, like, all that stuff, like, they were laced with a little bit of that here and there. And I'm just thinking, you know, this is just the way sex goes. Like, this is just part of it, you know. And sometimes when you hear stories from other people and you realize that their, like, definition of sex is even, like, less, like, it's like, that is not okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you talk to people enough about certain stuff, like, people from other places, and, like, they talk about how, like, sex is with them, and it's just like, what? So, yeah, we all have some different gray areas we're functioning in, for real. Like, I'll tell you that much. Either way, but it's like, for me at least, even though that has kind of, like, that was able to, like, weave its way into my definition of how sex would go, like, even subconsciously, I don't think, I mean, personally, I wouldn't know really, but I don't think it's had, I don't think it's had such a negative effect on my own experience per se. Like, I don't think it's been such a traumatizing thing for me, as opposed to the situations I've been in where I've traumatized someone else. But back to the story. So, yeah, that situation happens, and basically what I learned from that, I'm like, I'm not about to, one, I'm not going to try and minimize anybody else's feelings about anything that I've done. Words everything. Like, there's no victim blaming in this corner. And on top of that, I also am not drinking. Fuck that shit. Good night. That was that. Senior year comes around. And there's this girl that senior year of high school, I am now starting to mess with here and there. You know, she wants to get into some type of sexual behavior. Fine. Really, and that's how I felt about it. I was like, fine. Like, and this is important. Basically, this girl, she was actually she was the friend I had before who was like, those shits don't cancel out. But either way, this girl, I was friends with her all throughout high school type shit. Friends with her all throughout high school. You know, we were supposed to be mad close, but I never felt that close to her. Obviously, I'm going through all this other stuff. Who isn't? Right? Going through all this other stuff, and I'm really just craving, like, to be special to somebody. That was really my whole thing, especially in high school. Like, to be chosen by somebody, to be close to somebody, to feel special to somebody, to feel loved truly just by somebody, because I was having this, like, little hole inside myself. You know, this was before my spiritual journey into full effect. This was definitely through depression and all that. Like, I was just really damn, like, who wants me though? Like, who would pick me out in a crowd? Whatever. This friend was definitely not that friend. Like, this friend definitely had made me on several occasions, made me feel like, damn, I'm really disposable type shit. Nonetheless, and it was also like, this is all important. This is the only reason I'm bringing it up. This is not to excuse anything I did. This is just kind of like what, just the circumstances and like what led me to like feeling the way I felt. Right? Yeah. So these are just the circumstances. Basically, you know, this girl had disappointed me enough as a friend. But then, you know, I was always flirtatious. I'm a very flirtatious person. I flirt with my friends. I flirt with everybody. And so I've kind of always been like that. And so, whatever, I would always flirt with her, but she would always drag. She was like, it's a dub, it's a dub, it's a dub. Fine, calm, it's a dub. It's not going to stop me from being the flirtatious person that I am. And nobody ever really minded. Like, nobody minded. It was chill. Right? And so, then at some point, she's feeling like, oh, actually, this might be something I'm like more interested in. I had, again, a poem, me and my poems. I had written this poem that was cute and all that stuff. And it got her hot and bothered. Nonetheless, she was like, oh, like maybe, you know, maybe we could dabble in a little bit of this and that, like me and you. And personally, I was like, oh, okay, like that's fine. But I was irritated. I was irritated, and maybe I don't know if I ever expressed that. Who knows? But I know that I definitely was irritated because I was like, damn, you only find me interesting when it's about sex, but you couldn't find me interesting as just a human being. Like, you didn't find me interesting enough to be my friend, like, really, really be my friend, like, really, like, and look, I had high expectations. But nonetheless, she didn't meet any of them. So it was just like, damn, like, I really just wanted a friend. I really wanted somebody to choose me because I was me, not for sex. But I was like, fine, whatever, you want to have sex, fine. Like, let me just, because, you know, I'm over here. I only had one girlfriend prior to that. She was the only person only girl I had really messed with. I was like, okay, well, I need to, my whole agenda was like, if we're just going to play around and have sex and stuff, then I'm going to go ahead and get my, my resume up. Like, I'm a lesbian and I never ain't nobody out. Like, let me get that together. So that's really how I felt. That was my own motivation. That was my only motivation. I wasn't really feeling her too much. I was just like, alright, like, fine, like, let's go do stuff. Let's see what happens. And basically, you know, here and there, whatever, she wants to be like around sometimes and blah blah blah. Whatever. I am definitely thinking more about the sex. I'm like, alright, well, we're gonna get this started, like, we're gonna get this popping, like, that's all you really wanna do, so let's just do it, like. And I've always been an Aries my whole life, y'all, so and this is back when I was a lot more aggressive, so a lot more assertive. And yeah, I'm pretty sure we can all see how that played out. But basically, we have this encounter. And we had like sex before that, right? Everything was chill. Everything was cool. This was like our second time having sex, and I'm like supposed to eat her out, and I'm ready to do that. Like, that's really what I came for. That's what I'm here to do. That's what I'm trying to get done. Like, let's get into it. And our situation basically is like, we're here, she's chilling, like, she's there, like, we're in a room, and I'm just trying to be very, like, I think I was trying to be, like, more, I don't know, in high school we were taking, like, our sex ed education classes and stuff, like, learning about consent, coercion, and all that stuff. So I had learned more, and I was like, okay, like, let's just ask, you know, make sure she's ready for this, blah, 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 blah. And also, my motivation, my agenda, which I was very clear about, honest about, was like, okay, I'm just trying to eat you out for real. Like, that's really all I'm really here to do. I'm not gonna lie, like, that's what I'm trying to do, and that's also how I'm feeling. And also, though, I'm not feeling really like particularly close to her when I was like her friend. Like, I'm not feeling like I should really give a fuck about your feelings for her. And this is very true. This is very important. To the story. So basically, she kind of just, I end up eating her out after, like, I remember we were there for a little minute. I'm like, bro, like, because we're in a room, but like we're gonna share the room. So the room is not just ours, but right now the room is to ourselves. And I'm like, you know, TikTok, time is ticking, bro. Like, if you want to get this done, we can get this done now. If you don't want to do it, we do not have to. And I remember saying that a lot. I was like, bro, we do not have to do nothing you don't want to do. And I remember her being so adamant about being like, I know I can say no. I know I can say no, pretty much. Like, she wasn't saying it like that, but she was saying, I know. She was like, I know. I was like, you can say no if you don't want to do this. And she was like, I know. But she wouldn't say no. She wouldn't say no. She refused to say no. And maybe that was an internal thing inside of her. Like, maybe just like how I have felt like when I was younger in situations where I was like, I'm not really ready, but I said I was going to do it, so I have to do it. Because this was also like her first encounter. Like, this was her first time. Like, or like her first, you know, like she wasn't really like experiencing that. And so it was just like, all right, like, you know, but I was just like, all right, like, you're still here, like, do you still want to do this? Like, and also throughout our friendship, I was very used to interpreting for her. I was very used to interpreting. This is an important part of the story because I was so used to interpreting like what she really wanted to say or whatever. Like, I've always been very, like, you know, I don't know, I've probably told y'all in my previous videos, but the way that I am, like, I read between the lines with people and I get to the truth of what they're really saying every single time, and I be spot on every time, right? Unfortunately, this does not work during sex. This does not work during sex, bro. This doesn't work during sex. I mean, it depends on your partner, but it really does not work. It does not work, and especially it does not work when you do not really care about the fucking person in front of you. So it's just like, I'm over here doing some interpreting. I'm like, okay, like, trying to be like, I'm also being like more outspoken, I think. I believe. I really, you know, these memories are a little far away. But, and I'm like, okay, like, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? Like, blah, blah, blah. But she was probably nervous as fuck. Like, looking back, like, in retrospect, like, nervous as fuck. Not saying too much. Not wanting to say no. Like, really, she probably wanted to be in control, but also felt not in control, you know? But at a certain point, I ended up eating her out and stuff. And then I remember at the very end of everything, when we went back outside, her whole mood shifted, her whole demeanor shifted. I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, are you good? Are you okay? Like, what's wrong? And she, like, couldn't put words to it. She couldn't put words to it. She just didn't put words to it anyway. I was like, okay. You know, the rest of everything goes on the way it does. I don't find out until a year later. That I affected her horribly. She was like, yeah, like, actually, Shanae, like, I'm not gonna say that you raped me or anything, but like, that shit was not the way it was supposed to feel. Like, I was in a relationship with somebody else and we had sex and all this stuff, and it felt so different. It was only then and stuff like that, and I learned more, that I realized this was not how that shit was supposed to go. And I was like, oh my god, I have no clue. Like, I didn't even fucking know, bro. So of course I apologize. Of course I apologize. I mean, I don't really know what apologies do for that shit, but I apologize. I was also, at least in this conversation when I spoke to this person, I also was transparent about, like, I mean, I'm an honest girl, but they were saying stuff that I clearly was like, I was like, some of these details are off. I know some of these details are off, but I'm not gonna nitpick which details are right and which details are wrong. Like, you've gone over this in your head more times than I have, because I didn't think anything was wrong. You went over this a billion times in your head, and if some details changed for you, fine, trauma does that. But it's just like, and so I told her, I was like, I think some of these details are off, but I totally understand. This is me paraphrasing. I totally understand, like, I do get it, and I'm truly sorry. that I hurt you and that it took you this long. It took you this long to tell me I'm thankful that you told me. And I'm sorry that I hurt you and didn't even know I was hurting you. Because I had no fucking clue. But then, you know, after that, now I'm brought back to the memories of me hurting my ex-girlfriend. I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. Fucking sick. I'm sick. I cried after that shit. I was so sad. And I was just like, damn, like, what the fuck am I on? What am I on? What am I on? And I had to talk to like 2 other friends about it, like, at least. And I told them the truth too. I was just like, yeah, like I was just so used to like interpreting for this person that like I guess that shit just did not work in that scenario. Like that shit just did not work. And they were like, yeah, like that makes sense. And it's just like I felt uncomfortable with how much understanding I was being met with too. I was like, why can't you guys just think I'm a fucking villain? Like why aren't you guys condemning me more? Because I feel more condemned inside myself than I do by you right now. Like I talked to probably 3 people about it. But it was just like, I'm like, I didn't tell them that, but I was just like, I just affected the fuck out of this bitch's life. Like that bitch held that with her for like a year plus. Like she probably still holding that with her. Obviously, hopefully, I believe like she's like past it, but it's just like, damn, you know. But you know, do you ever really get past trauma? Like that shit is like, that's always a part of your story. That shit sucks. And so it's just like, damn, like I just felt so conflicted. I felt so conflicted about other people being willing to give me grace that I did not have for myself yet. I was like, nah, that shit is fucked up. Like that shit is fucked up. 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 So yeah. Yeah. So that really just went into a point of reflection for me. I was like, damn, like how can I make sure this shit doesn't really happen again? Like what is it that I did in these situations that I need to like change? And so in this situation I kinda just learned like, okay, like I can't have sex with people I don't give a fuck about. I can't have sex with people I don't give a fuck about. I can't have sex with people I don't give a fuck about. Like that just can't happen. That can't be what I'm doing with my life, no kizzy. So that was 1. 2 was the whole interpreting thing. Maybe was it the interpreting thing that I learned in this situation? I'm not sure actually. I don't know. Maybe I think part of it, like I learned like, okay, interpreting stuff a little bit, but I don't think it was all the way nailed home. Because in my 3rd situation, 3rd and final, that played a role again. That definitely did play a role again. So yeah, I think mostly in this situation, I definitely learned, okay, I'm not gonna have sex with people I don't really give a fuck about for real. But then, you know what I'm saying? Well, yeah, like that can't be my only reason for trying to get into this fucking whatever fuck. Like I can't have just my own agenda. I can't have my own like, I can't just want to be like, all right, I'm just trying to like build up my fucking resume. Like that shit is crazy. So that's T. And then we move on to encounter number 3. So this 3rd encounter, it was definitely hella gray area with this one. Extreme, serious gray area because me and this person were really close. Really close. Another girl. Well, that's not how they identify anymore. So, I don't think they even identified as a girl when we were talking. When we first met, they identified as a girl. Now, they're not back. So I'm gonna try and say they, them to respect them. But basically, they kind of were just like, and this was in college, unfortunately. So basically, like early-ish, maybe not too early, maybe a little bit early. basically, like, me and this person were so close, bro. We used to be so close. Then we stopped being so close. And I still wanted to be close. I was like, what's going on? Right? Then at some point, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know which part of the backstory is going to be important to this. But I know that we're not close as much. We're not as close anymore. And there is probably... Yeah, and I'm feeling that. Just the same way I felt with this last girl. Like, damn. Like, I'm feeling like, damn. Like, you don't really fuck with me for real. Like, why can't we be like this? But... And I flirt with all my friends, like I told y'all. So in general, like it's not like flirting, like I'm trying to do something with you. It's just I'm just a flirty character. And so, nonetheless, this was the person I always would do the flirting with, but they would never flirt back. Like that's kind of the line that I would have with my friends. Like my friend started to flirt back, I'd be like, whoa, what do you want? Relax, right? But with this friend, they started flirting back, and I noticed that. I pointed it out because again, Aries. I pointed it out, and I was like, what is this about? What are you trying to do here? And they're just feeling more into the whole being gay vibe. Like they're trying to, play around. And I'm like, okay, I mean, we can play around if you want to play around. But again, like our friendship is not as close anymore. We're not really friends for real. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, okay, like I don't really remember what happened in between that we like really. I know that I decided like, yeah, no. But either way, I was at their house. And it was just like, okay, we were sharing a bed because that was the space that was there for me, and it was chill and everything. And I'm like the sexual tension is in and out of the room, but I know they're on some playing around vibe, or at least way more than they ever were before. And I'm like, okay, like, and I'm 30, so I was like, okay. Yeah. So one of the nights, they're really feeling it. And so I asked them clearly for consent. I'm like, are you really trying to do this? Is this really what you want to do? Is this really what you're trying to get into tonight, today, this morning? And they're like, yes. They say yes. Okay, we kiss. We think about getting into a little bit more. They say, no, let's stop. And I'm like, okay, let's stop. Simple, done, over, finished. Nothing more to it. Like, and that was that. Like, period. Love that. Love listening, love consenting, love stopping, love all that. Chef's kiss. Right? Whatever. I say something to them. I know what the fuck I said to them. They heard something else. Nonetheless, them hearing something else is more, I feel like, a little bit more. I don't know if it's a little bit more of what traumatized them. I think so. It feels like, because when we talked about it a year later, yeah. I know what I said. I know they heard something else. Nonetheless, that's what hurt them more. So this situation, we'll see. Anyway, the next day I can definitely say, like, I think the next day they didn't want to be as close physically. I was like, okay. I was feeling some type of way because I was gonna leave soon. Well, not that day. I wasn't gonna leave that day. I was gonna leave the day after that. Something like that. Either way, I felt some type of way about it. Just because I didn't feel cared for, and also I was really at their house. Like I was at their house during the holidays because was it the holidays? I feel like yeah, I was at their house during the holidays because I'm not like I said, like life been doing dirty, no kids. But either way, wasn't close enough to my family to try and be with them for the holidays. You know what I'm saying? So their family was like, oh, we'll take you for this holiday, and you can stay with us and enjoy our family. And I loved being there. I'm not gonna lie, I loved being there. I time, beautiful people, great people. I felt so cared for. But in that moment, I wasn't feeling cared for by them, right? I'm just like, whatever. So we sleep away from each other. Then I feel like there was one morning. I could be mixing this up. I don't know if I was there for 3 or 4 nights. Don't remember. Nonetheless, I know that the very last night that I was there, I was crying. I was sad. I didn't want to leave the next day. I was so sad. I didn't want to leave the next day. And I just wanted to be close. I wanted to be close. And they weren't feeling it. They weren't feeling being close. I was being fucking selfish. Yes, I was. I was being fucking selfish. And I was still trying to be close to them. I was still choosing to be close to them. Still grabbing onto them. Still holding on to them. But it really wasn't on no sexual shit. It was really on some like, I just want to be close. Like, I want to be close. But they weren't feeling it. That was that. I felt fine. Obviously they didn't feel fine. Like, why would they? And then they drive me back to where the fuck I was going, and that was that. A year later, we have a conversation, a debrief about that whole night, and I was like, okay, wow. We talk about everything, and they're kind of just like, yeah, like, this was what I remember, and this shit really fucked with me, like, it really fucked with me. It's not fucking with me no more, but it really did fuck with me then, like, it really fucked me up. I explained my side of the story, because a lot has transpired, like, between us after that. Like, a whole bunch of stupid ass dumb shit had happened after that. It wasn't like anything physical, sexual between us. It was more so like just relationship dynamics, and like they did some shit that I thought was on some op level weird shit, and then I don't know what I did for, I'm not gonna lie. But I was pretty like, you know, like I'm a pretty assertive, I'm pretty fucking honest. If you do some shit that rub me the wrong way, I'm letting you know. Like, that shit is fucking weird, you're fucking weird. I was on that type of shit. I was on some shit like that. I was pretty upset. I was just being like, I don't know. I felt like they were being a weirdo, and I was being a aggressive, angry bitch in response to it. So that was that. Nonetheless, we finally get to a point where we're like, all right, let's have a conversation. Let's debrief all that dumb shit, because that shit was stupid, and I hated that. They hated it too, you know. So we finally came to an understanding about that stuff, but then they let me know about the whole sexual shit, and they were like, yeah, like, that shit fucked me, like, that shit wasn't even, like, cool, and I felt like, I don't know, they just kind of, I had also, of course, made a fucking poem. These poems, boy, I had made a poem after that about the encounter, about them kind of being, like, saying yes and then choosing no, even though they like feel like they kind of wanted to, like, you know, it felt like the mixed signals. I made a poem about mixed signals basically, and they definitely did see it because I posted it, but they also brought that up, and they were like, yeah, like, and it just didn't give them good, it made them feel funky. It made them feel funky because the night was also funky for them. Like, it just brought back a memory of the night that just didn't feel good. Triggering is the point. Yeah, this last one I feel like it's a little more difficult to put into words, because I'm pretty certain that what bothered them the most, aside from me absolutely being like, I can say that I know that I learned at the end that I was being hella selfish, especially that last night. That last night I was being hella selfish. And I can't, like, you can't just do that. Like, everybody's body is their own, and we were in their house. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing to, like, it's really not one thing. It's not one thing. It's not one thing. I've been assaulted in my own, like, in my dorm room. Like, that shit is not cute. Like, it sucks to not only be, like, in your own space and be taken advantage of in your own body. Like, it's a lot. It sucks. It fucking sucks. So it's just, yeah, it's fucking bad. But, and I learned from that, I'm like, I can't just think of myself. I can't just think of myself, no matter what the fuck I'm going through, no matter how sad I am, no matter how I'm feeling. Like, I can't just think of myself, especially when another person is involved, particularly when another person is involved. When, yeah, shit is not okay. But on the thing that I think hurt them the most, and that it seemed like when they expressed it to me had hurt them the most, was more so the thing that I said, the thing that they heard versus the thing that I said. Nonetheless, they sat with that shit for a year. So whatever the fuck they heard was what was said. You know what I'm saying? For me, I know what the fuck I said. And I tried to talk to them about that like months later after we talked about the whole situation. And we were cool again for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We don't really talk no more. It's no beef, but it's like there's really no reason for us to be like, there's no real reason for us to be cool. Like there's nothing for us to really be chit-chatting about. If I see them and whatever, I'll probably say hi, but it's just not even, like, there's no real relationship there for real. Right? But the whole point is like, it's like, you thought I said one thing, or they thought I said one thing, and they sat with that thing for a while. Like, they sat with what they heard me say for a while. And so it's kind of like my first ex-girlfriend, she told me she cheated on me. She told me she cheated on me so that she could get out of a relationship with me. Then she tells me a year later that she never actually cheated on me. She just wanted to get out of a relationship with me. And she felt trapped, like she couldn't. I don't know what the fuck she felt that way. Nonetheless, she felt like that, right? She felt like that. And she felt like she had to tell me she cheated on me. Nonetheless, I sat with the fact that she cheated on me for a fucking year. I'm like, this bitch cheated on me. Like, this bitch cheated on me. Like, this bitch cheated on me. So now it's like, whether the fact is the fact or not, I just felt all the feelings of somebody who just got cheated on, whether I got cheated on or not. So you know what I'm saying? So I tried to just hold that, like I'm holding that truth. I'm like, I don't think it would, and that's why I didn't tell them for months later until after that. I was like, I know what I said. Like I said this thing, like I didn't say that thing. And they were like, well, I knew that it wasn't gonna matter. It wasn't gonna make a difference in the end. They already felt all the feelings around me, you know, and they were already past it at this point. That's why I didn't want to say shit. But I thought about saying, but months later I was like, you know what, fuck it, let me just say something so I feel like I got it off my chest. I told them, and they kind of were just like, well, yeah, no, I'm definitely, like, like, stood 10 toes down, like, I'm definitely sure you said this thing because of the way it made me feel. And I remember that feeling. And I was like, I would never try to make you feel like that because of what you meant to me. Like, why would I do that? On purpose. With my mouth. Or what I do. So, aside from that, because that's a whole nother, I feel like, thing, which does carry into the rest of this stuff. It was kind of like me feeling like, damn, like, you really think that I'm the type of person who would do that? But then, on the same-ish note, like, I've done these other things that don't fit in with the type of person that I know that I am. You know, like I've caused harm to people in a way that I wouldn't classify as like me, right? And these people, for the most part, like they found a way to talk to me about it after, or they found a way to forgive me after, or they found a way to be like even a friend to me after. Me personally, I don't know how, but nonetheless, you know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of do know how, like, I kind of get it, but, like, I don't really. And then that makes it harder to navigate. It makes it harder to navigate because it's like, damn, like, you don't see me as a full-on villain. Like, this world isn't black and white. You don't see me as a horrible person. Like, you still like these things about me, and also I hurt you. And also I hurt you in a way that's really going to probably, like, affect the way that you, like, are in relationships or are in sexual encounters for maybe the rest of your life. Like, how do I feel okay with being able to be this close to you now, knowing that I did something like that to you? How do I feel okay with being able to wake up and breathe, like knowing that I did something like that to you, to another person? Like, you know, it's very, there's really, I don't know what else I can really say about that. Those are the 3 encounters. Each encounter again, I didn't fucking know. I didn't know. But in retrospect, there's something I learned from each encounter. And with this encounter, also I forgot to say, the last encounter, I definitely was also doing some internal interpreting. I don't know if I wasn't doing interpreting particularly in the moment, but in general, I did a lot of interpreting in that friendship and with that person, and it always worked for us. But when it comes to sexual encounters, that's not okay. Like, that's not ever gonna work. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. It really does depend on your partner, but it's not gonna work, especially when it's somebody you're not as close to anymore. Pack that up. I had to learn that lesson like 2 times. Like, fuck. Stupid. Not me, but it's just stupid. It's just stupid. It sucks. But yeah. I don't know. If you can relate to any of this stuff, you know. I don't know. I don't really know what you're supposed to do with that information. I know that I was supposed to let it out. Hopefully it did something for someone. I'm just trying to end on a note that has a lesson. I think just the truth, like, I wrote a song to, like, the tune of La Bachata by, I think, Manuel Chorizo, and that shit is mad upbeat, of course. And in his song, he's talking about, like, it's a Spanish song, and in his song, he's actually like talking about heartbreak and stuff. Upbeat ass song. And so, I was really, when I was in the shelter, I was really like, all this stuff was coming back to me, like, just like my encounters with sexual assault and like how I've harmed other people, and how they've told me, and how I've had to learn from it, and how I've had to like figure out how I could go about forgiving myself. But then on top of that, how I knew it was important to not just keep it to myself. Like, I feel like there's so much of the conversation that we have around consent and sex and sexual assault that we just leave out, that we don't say, because one, of how it'll make us look, or how taboo it is to just be fucking transparent about shit, and like about the things that happen regularly in life. And unfortunately, this is a regular ass occurrence. Like, for other shit we don't say, more shit is happening. Like, and I just want to be someone who is able to look her demons in the face, you know, able to look her skeletons in the face, like, able to just be like, okay, you know what, yes, I did do that, and I'm not fucking proud of it. Like, I'm not fucking proud of it, but I'm not scared of it either. I'm not scared to admit it either. And on top of that, all that I did does inform, like, how I want to move about my life in the future. And I'm grateful I've learned the lessons I have. Do I wish it never happened? Of course. Of course. But because we cannot change the past, it's like, how do I move on from that point? How do I move on with all these truths? How am I able to, like, turn this into something that isn't something I feel like I have to hide? Isn't something I feel like I have to beat myself up over? Like, isn't something I'm unable to forgive myself for, you know? Yeah. And I deserve, as the person I am today, and the person I've always been, I deserve forgiveness. I deserve another chance, you know, from myself. And that's from me. That's from me. I deserve to be able to walk proudly and still know that I'm imperfect, you know, and that I am still loved, regardless of how I may have hurt people. Yeah. So I'm proud of myself for making this video. How y'all feel about the videos? How y'all feel about the video? I mean, that's your opinion, your choice here. I never really cared what video I thought of it, so it is what it is. This is more for me. It's more more for me, but also I feel like the release that I needed is already here prior to putting it out into the world. So we'll see how this goes over with y'all, but there's nothing else for me to hide. And how many people can say that? But I do hope this encourages people to just be more transparent, like with themselves. I know there's so many. The song that I made, the song that I made when I was in the shelter, I called it La Lesión, and it's a little Spanglish song, but it's basically just me like saying how, like, literally the hook is, I carry all this guilt and shame and now it's holding me hostage. Like, it's about just this whole, all of this, just having these stories with me, these truths with me, these actions with me that I know I've done, that I know I've harmed people, and like feeling afraid to talk about it, you know, feeling afraid to release it, and feeling even more afraid to forgive myself. Maybe not afraid to forgive myself, feeling wrong about forgiving myself, you know, despite being forgiven by others, despite others having grace with me, despite other people giving me a chance, you know. That's what the song is about. You can read it lyric for lyric, like that's exactly what it says. But it also says in the song, like, I know I'm not the only person who seeks redemption. Like, I know I'm not the only person who wants, who seeks redemption, like, from self. But the work starts in the mirror. That's what I say. I say that part in Spanish, though. Nonetheless, yeah, so this is my mirror. This is my moment to just be able to talk transparently about these things. But I really do hope this encourages people who have felt similar, have been in similar situations, because I know it's a lot of y'all, to just be able to actually look at your past actions, to look at them, own them, be accountable for them, be responsible for them, and be responsible for making a different decision in the future. Be responsible from learning from these actions, because it means, literally, if you do some type of shit, like, you do some wacky, weird, stupid shit, right, and you never learn from it, you're still that person. You're still that person, you know what I'm saying? You're still defined by that. But once you learn from it and commit to being someone, like, better, someone who holds those truths to you, those stories, those confessions. And I'm saying confessions like how the other people have told me how I've heard them. So, like, those confessions close to you, and really value them. And take them to, like, inform the way that you move in the world. You may not be perfect, but learning from your mistakes, being able to look your mistakes, your actions on purpose or mistake, being able to look them in the face and be like, okay, that shit is never gonna fucking happen again, because I'm in charge of that, because I can control that. It's a good thing. It's a good skill. It's important. It's important. And we deserve to be able to live, you know? We deserve to be able to live beyond our actions, especially when we're able to learn from them. That's all I got to say today. Am I gonna keep the comments on? Probably. I don't think I really give a fuck, for real. Hopefully it's chill. You can say whatever the fuck you want to say in the comments, for real. If y'all leave a comment. But I don't really have nothing to ask for today. If you like the video, you know what to do. If you haven't subscribed, your choice is to subscribe. aside from that, if I'm not your favorite YouTuber yet, I will be. You already know. It's your girl, signing off. See you guys next time. And thank you for listening.